Welcome, everybody. It is my delight to share embodying a love-based paradigm with you. My name is Gabriela Masala, and I am joined by my brilliant sister, Kimia Maleki. And we are humble alchemists and medicine women who are walking the path in our beautiful, wild earth and collecting some wisdom that we feel is really essential for these times. And we're going to offer you this slide deck presentation based on conversations we've been having for many years now as a way to support you in catapulting and taking a leap into embodying a love-based life and living in a love-based paradigm. So let's jump in.
So creative leaders understand the concept of space and how you can tap into and manage energy. So part of what we want to share with you is the new paradigm is completely based in frequency, and it's a lot more energetic. It has to do with our own frequency, our own empowerment, our own ability to be emotional conduits in a grounded way, rather than the old linear trajectory. And we're going to be sharing a little bit more about what that looks like.
Yes, yes. And so as we continue into this journey, consider that being an impeccable steward of your energy and learning how to tap into and commune with life as energy is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and your world. So the world, as we know it, is really at a tipping point. We're shifting from a limited paradigm of separation and fear to one of unity and unconditional love. We're embodying a love-based paradigm really involves a daily conscious choice, conscious practices, maybe 1,000 conscious choices and practices. And it requires making a perceptual and contextual shift. It's our intention in this presentation to help you make a perceptual and contextual shift. We might even call it from Newtonian-based science to quantum-based science and reality. And part of what really helps us get there in the body is going to include simple daily practices with our breath, with our responsiveness, gratitude, kindness, compassion, movement so that we're embodied, connection to the natural world, the more than human world, which really models for us constantly how to be integrated in a love-based paradigm, and really honoring that this shift is going to require consistent small actions over time to build that new orientation, to build the new muscle and directive so that it becomes daily life. Anything you want to add?
I think we're going to go more into with the older paradigm. You could also think of it as the 3D or the more physically embodied paradigm, to moving into more of a quantum, interconnected, larger paradigm, and what these shifts look like, as well as practical ways. So we can move into the old, from the old to the new paradigm in one moment, but in order to stay in it, it really has to do with our heart and our daily choices, our perception, and we're going to share different practices with you as well.
All right, let's keep it flowing. So my friends, keep calm. There's a paradigm shift going on.
No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So really taking this paradigm shift is really the ability to have a spiritual path, to see ourselves as interconnected, and also to change our perception and our consciousness. So when we change our perception and when we magnify and increase consciousness, our physical reality actually shifts as well.
Yes, indeed. And I'll just say here playfully, friends, that we appreciate Albert Einstein and the brilliance that he brought through. And I would also really love to have images of the feminine and the living goddess. She is in all of her dimensions and faces a living embodiment of a love-based paradigm.
Hmm. Liberate consciousness. So both Gabrielle and I love this image here. And the whole idea is if we're boxed in and we're living in this really small, confined perception of how we're living, and all of a sudden we know that we're part of this ginormous ocean of interconnectedness and interrelatedness, we really get to jump out of the box of how we've been living our lives and liberate into becoming active creators in this lifetime.
Yes, yes, yes. Let's leap out of the fishbowl and swim in the waters of infinite consciousness.
So,
Let's
first, we'll talk about the Newtonian paradigm based in separation. And so, this is really the old paradigm that we're moving out of. It's limited. In this paradigm, we're all thought of as separate beings and matter in a world of matter. So, some descriptions of the Newtonian or the 2D, the 3D, the older paradigm that we're shifting out of is that things are hard and they take time. So, it's really logical, linear. There's this idea of time as being really scarce. There's also this feeling of scarcity and lack and this illusion of separation. The way of being is modeled in competition, measurement, comparison. It's very hierarchical and it's very fear based. It's limited, it's small minded. We could think of ourselves in this older paradigm as victims. Life is happening to us at an effective forces in life. And it's a paradigm of control, hierarchy, self orientation. So, looking at ourselves as isolated silos, wanting to acquire more in order to feel empowered. So, coming from a place of I, me, mine. And the outcomes are really limited. The potentials are really limited. It's almost looking at everything from a very myopic view rather than an expansive view. Is there
correct.
anything you want to
What
add?
what feels really essential at this point in our sharing and presentation with you is to realize that all of our systems, from science to medicine to education to consensus reality to economy, are all built around this paradigm of separation, this lie of separation. And so even as we start to feel the gravity of this, there can be denial, there can be grief, there can be all kinds of emotional energies that come up. And as we enter and embody a paradigm of love, of unity, of the quantum-based model of perception, we have space for all of those feelings. We have space for all of the seeming separation and the realities that have spawned from that. And what we will do, including right now, is extend love, compassion, wholeness, integration, acceptance to all of that, because we are not moving into a place of either or. We're moving into a place of more than and beyond, so that the Newtonian paradigm is held within the paradigm of the quantum. It's just one perspective. It's like being in a tiny corner of a tiny room in an infinite mansion of possibilities. And where we're headed is into the infinite.
And so, just by envisioning some of these screens, you can see that it's sort of a choice. We're moving from that myopic little bubble where our comfort has been into a place of full expansion into the void and where magic happens. And so, as Gabriela said, it's not an either or, but it's a both and. So, it's really learning to walk between the two worlds. So, still having this physical body, this physical vessel, this physical life experience, but having the spiritual at the same time.
Of course, this will require unlearning what we've learned. So part of making the phenomenal shift into a quantum or love-based reality and then really embodying it is going to require that we undo, that we unlearn, that we decondition. And this process can be messy, it can be uncomfortable, and it is also incredibly liberating. And from this perspective, I love that we have Master Yoda here on the screen with us for a moment. It really is a Jedi training. This becomes a life training to become an impeccable steward and master of how to live in a new way.
I agree. I think this feels to me to be such the potent work right now to really shift. And I'm finding that the more we set that intention to release the past, to release cultural imprinting, our own conditioning, our own imprinting, any experience that we had that created that illusion of separation that caused us to create these fear patterns that protected us at some point, but are now keeping us separate from all of life. That's really the work. And that's how we become these alchemists as we release the old programming, the new programming that's founded in love, which is what we'll talk about next, superimposes the old.
Beautiful. Yes, yes. And we might say that the quantum paradigm, the love-based paradigm, is the divine matrix. It actually is the absolute reality. And that as we become an alchemist, we transform everything with love. And so even now, as we're together, as you're checking out this slide deck introduction to what we've been thinking and feeling and sharing the last many moons, I would say let's flood our nervous systems with the master frequency of love, of unconditional love, that love which is the ocean of consciousness that accepts all things, that holds all things, that welcomes all rivers into the ocean of love, and let that love frequency do its work on us, our essential nature.
Absolutely. And we could also think of the alchemist as one that turns lead into gold. So I always think of that as turning the lead of unconsciousness into the magic and the gold of the heart-centered space and the spiritual path.
Beautiful. That's a great bridge right into talking about the quantum paradigm of wholeness. So in this perceptual, conceptual reality, we are unlimited beings. We're infinite, we're whole. We are not only connected to, we are within a unified field. We're energy in a world of energy. In this space, there's a sense of flow, the flow state, the zone, ease. We're in Kairos, which is that infinite deep time. It's circular, it's spiralic, it's feminine. It's a sense of abundance, wealth, unity, oneness. We're in connection, collaboration, creativity, innovation lives here. When we say love-based, we are also connecting to that infinite nature of what we might call source, soul, capital S self. Some might understand it in their own way as God, goddess, divine consciousness. And also we're in conscious creatorship, where we're able to be an intimate, ongoing relationship to our higher self, our whole self, our divine self, and we're collaborating, we're in communion as reality artists with the field of all possibilities. This paradigm is not about the I, me, mine, it is about the us, the we, the wholeness. There's a space here of trust with intention and surrender. It's not control, it's intention with surrender. We are also in this space open to unlimited outcomes and potentials that are even better than the best we can imagine and that have to go beyond our limited pictures and expectations. Also in this paradigm is where we can experience the medicine of heart-brain coherence, of what it means to activate all of our heart intelligence, as well as our brain and nervous system intelligence, not as separate, but as working like one beautiful infinity Anything you want to add, sister?
I think that's wonderful explanation of all of it. It's really coming from the place of the mind also serving the heart as opposed to the heart being pushed out of and eliminated. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it is to me also that interrelatedness, that interconnectedness, knowing that we're one wave in the ocean, but every thought, every action, every intention, our healing also has a huge impact on the collective.
Yes, Ashe. Well said. So we're going to break it down for you, and we're going to give you a sense here of love and fear-based paradigms at a glance. The next few slides are really rich with information. So what I'd love to invite you to do before Kimia starts to read is take a deep breath, maybe even close your eyes if you're someone who takes in messages more audibly, or read with us if you take in messages more visually. But above all else, start to really let your inner architecture expand into a deeper understanding of these two very different ways of perceiving and walking through life. Because these simple perceptions can change our whole experience and reality in a moment. So with that, I turn over the mic to you, sister.
Thank you. So, as Gabriela perfectly put that, taking in information visually or taking in information auditorially, I also want to invite you to feel the difference of the frequencies and the words, when we're talking about the love and or the fear-based paradigms. So I'll begin here. So the love-based paradigm fosters intimacy and connection. And the fear based paradigm is based in isolation, disrepair, and rupture. There's a heart mind connection and balance in the love based paradigm. In the fear based paradigm, we are enslaved by the mind, and there's a disconnection of the heart. There's a spiritual orientation in the new paradigm, and there's more of a physical and a materialistic orientation in the fear based paradigm. The love based paradigm accepts the mystery and loves the mystery of life, whereas the fear based paradigm feels threatened when it does not understand the mystery or what it doesn't know. I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you. So another key component of a love-based paradigm is that women are valued, whereas in a fear-based paradigm, women are secondary and it is hierarchical with men on top. Also, in a love-based paradigm, we value our elders, whereas in the fear-based paradigm, we value youth and technological sophistication and outdated aspects of the beauty myth. In the love-based paradigm, we nurture the soul, are nurtured by the soul, we value the soul. In a fear-based paradigm, the soul is ignored. In love, we value and we build community. In fear, we break down the essence of community and live in broken village.
In a love based paradigm, the important things in life cannot be measured. In a fear based paradigm, only what can be measured is important. The new paradigm is devoted to healing, comfort, creativity, and nourishment. And the older paradigm is really externalized, where you're devoted to making money and you have material comfort, you have letters behind your name, bigger houses, more stuff. So there's an external accumulation and an external security rather than taking care of oneself and being vertically oriented in a spiritual as well as a physical way. The love based paradigm builds society on cooperation and sharing. And the older paradigm we're moving out of is built on comparison, competition, and there's also this escape from intimacy, this feeling of I want to protect myself and keep people away from me and hoard what it is that I have, as opposed to seeing everything as abundant and interrelated and interconnected. The love-based paradigm is really at ease with the body as a sacred vessel. And the older paradigm, the fear based paradigm, sees the body as imperfect.
Wow. I'm also moved here as I'm hearing you share that in the love-based paradigm, we exalt the power of creation, and as creation comes through women. And we celebrate birth, we celebrate that mystery and miracle of life. And in the fear-based paradigm, there is a sin of the body, there's shame of the body, there's fear of that creative power. There's even fear of the feminine and bleeding time. And so it's not to judge any of this, because judgment is also part of the fear-based paradigm. It's simply to presence with how differently we can see the world depending what life, paradigm, or worldview we are in. So as we continue, we want to look at how the love-based paradigm values the contribution of all. It includes everything. It includes everyone as valuable with medicine and gifts. Whereas in a fear-based paradigm, we dismiss the contributions of children, of elders, we judge aging. There's also a mistreatment and devaluing of vulnerability, of sensitivity, and of Native and Indigenous peoples. In the love-based paradigm, dreaming is paramount. We are dreaming a reality together, both the sleeping power and wisdom of our dream time, as well as the way that we dream and vision and daydream and co-create together. That's valued in a love-based paradigm. In a fear-based paradigm, dreaming is unintelligible, it's nonsense, it's daydreaming as a waste of time. In love-based paradigm, we appreciate our differences. We are fed by the dimensions of our diversity. In a fear-based paradigm, we're threatened by our differences. In love, we value our feelings. We love our emotions, our energy and motion. They are medicine. They are messengers. In a fear-based paradigm, we're cut off from feelings, often numb and in judgment of them, and often in shame and in blame around feeling energy. In a love-based paradigm, we appreciate divinity. And in a fear-based paradigm, divinity and spirit are ignored, except where they come through the narrow dogma of religion. In a love-based paradigm, we value the imagination. And in the fear-based paradigm, we see the imagination as superficial or unnecessary.
Thank you so much. And it's really important as you were speaking, Gabriela, it also came to me that we've been in this illusion of separation and imbalance that is really hierarchical, but the feminine is coming back into a place of power. So the masculine and the feminine are embodied and standing beside each other. Within as well as without. And that's really that creativity, that magic. There's also this fear of the destruction of creativity. So right now, I feel we're at a time of this death and rebirth. It's almost this death of the old and this rebirth of the new, but they're happening concurrently. So we're having multiple different timelines. It's almost like time is collapsing in front of us, which is really confusing, but everything's happening all at once. And the emotions and the feelings, I believe, are our biggest guide. And it takes a lot of courage to go within and to feel so that we can heal. But just unraveling what's going on in the present moment, or unraveling and feeling what's going on from something that was repressed, suppressed, and pushed down from years prior, that's really where the medicine I feel is. So I'll continue. In the love based paradigm, we understand diversity is valuable. And in the fear based paradigm, we sacrifice diversity for efficiency. So it's really looking at people and cultures as homogenous in the old paradigm rather than this individuation and differentiation that our gifts and our diversity are actually what make us unique. The love-based paradigm sees nature as one with us all, and the fear-based paradigm sees nature as a force to be tamed or controlled. So in this paradigm, any living being, the trees, the plants, the animals, the land that we live on, our two-legged friends, our four-legged friends, our animal friends, they're all here to teach us. And we're in this huge symphony of collaboration. So we're not separate from nature. The love-based paradigm seeks to sustain the planet. The fear-based paradigm is destructive to both the self and the planet. So it's really, again, going back to that feminine, seeing our little garden planet as as the absolute source, as somebody that we are co-creating and collaborating with. So every choice that we make, we want to honor the earth and honor the source rather than seeing her as a resource.
Mm.
The love-based paradigm sees harmony and peace as the natural order. So we innately are here to love and harmony and balance and peace and an orientation internally as well as externally. That's really what we're made from. That is really the easeful, balanced place, as opposed to, as Gabriela said, coming from sin or coming from duality or coming from polarity. The old paradigm defines peace as an absence of war. So eventually we're going to move into a place where all of war is really eradicated. It's not congruent with where we're going.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
lastly, the earth is our mother and the source. And the older paradigm is really cut off from the earth. So there's this separation or this illusion of separation from the earth.
Yeah, it's almost as though in the paradigm that we are completing, the earth is non-living, right? Is a place where we extract resources for the good of humanity, where really again, what I'm going to call the absolute truth is that the earth is a living being, an organism, a body of life of which we are an intimate part, just cells on a living being that is here to thrive, life shimmering and living itself as love and in harmony. And this is, again, an energetic frequency. And depending which way we look at anything will completely color our reality. So the earth as a living natural sanctuary in the paradigm of wholeness and in the paradigm of separation, the earth is, I love this, a tool shed where we just use it. We just go for our use and for our resources. Extractive. It's extractive. In love-based paradigm, we are protecting nature, including our own nature and the nature of all beings. And in fear-based paradigm, it's control of nature, and it's also dominance of nature. Colonialism, great example. In love-based paradigm, we see land as sacred, and I want to include that this is the embodiment. This is the sacred land of our bodies, the sacred land of all living life forms. In extractive paradigm, we see land as real estate investment, as something we can possess, which we'll get to again in a moment. In love-based paradigm, we're aligned with the laws of nature. We are guided by and bow to and surrender to sacred law, universal law. And in a fear-based paradigm, one likes to think that they can live above natural laws and that actually man-made laws are what have power. In love-based paradigm, we regard possession of anything as an illusion, right? There's even many indigenous languages that do not even have a word for possession or ownership. And then in the fear-based paradigm, we seek to possess, even in terms of copyrights or patents of land ownership. It's a whole different relationship to how we are in our own bodies. And even as women, not being possessions of men, which for a long time was the reality on this world. Anything you want to add, sister?
I think that's perfect.
I think this is our last Power Pack slide. And we really want you to get a sense of what the differences are here, of powerfully, how powerfully we're asking you to become sovereign, responsible, self-initiated, and educated beings who are choosing the paradigm you want to live in. Take it, Kimia.
Absolutely. And there's a natural cycle to evolution and consciousness. And I feel like we're at such a poignant time on the planet. And so the reason we've, enlisted kind of this slide of the old as well as the new is so we first have to accept where it is we're coming from. We have to fully surrender and accept where it is we're coming from in order to embody and move into the new. And so that's really the nature of these descriptors. So this is the last slide. In the newer paradigm, the love-based paradigm, humans are diverse nature, are diverse in nature, and they're seen as blessings. So in the illusion of separation paradigm, we are seen as flawed in nature and innately sinful. In the love-based paradigm, the reality of spirit is in daily life awareness. So I like to think of life as ceremony. When I'm opening up my day, it's a ceremony. When I'm talking to a friend, it's a ceremony. When a bird is singing, it's ceremony. So it's really seeing spirit in all avenues of life, no matter how small and how big. And in the fear-based paradigm, everyday life is almost dead. It's mundane. It has to do with clocking in and clocking out and kind of being also checked out of the inner dimensionality of everything. The love-based paradigm reveres, honors, communes, and it participates. The older paradigm, the fear-based paradigm, is a lot more about separation and domination. The love-based paradigm merges and empathizes. And I should also add that there is a healthful differentiation in the love-based paradigm. So I'm also learning that it's one thing to really merge, but it's another thing for us to have our own autonomy and advocate for ourselves with healthful boundaries, energetic as well as physical if we need them.
Mm.
The fear-based paradigm is a lot about comparison and contrast. The love-based paradigm works at the grassroots, and the older paradigm works top down, and there's a chain of command. So it is very hierarchical. I like to think of it as a triangle. The other paradigm is kind of like an even playing field. The new paradigm, or the paradigm we're stepping into, is based on decisions of what heals the people and what heals the planet. So we're really thinking from a larger orientation, a planetary orientation, a communal orientation. And the fear-based paradigm makes decisions based on profit or money, or seeing ourselves as isolated individuals. The love-based paradigm really trusts the gut and really trusts our emotions and trusts our feelings. And the fear-based paradigm is really focused on rationality, logic, and analysis. So it's really more focused on the left hemisphere of the brain, whereas the love-based paradigm is a both and. It's both the right and the left hemispheres, the feminine and the masculine. And the love-based paradigm cultivates heart and relatedness, whereas the fear-based paradigm ignores the heart and it really fosters isolation and separation. So I will hand it over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Yes, so we're moving from isolation and separation to connection. And in that connection, we live in sweetness and flow. There's a sense of ease. And in fear-based paradigm, we would live more in anxiety and stress and competition, in control. In a love-based paradigm, we face our fears, we embrace our fears, we have our fears so they don't have us. We receive the messages and messengers in fearful energy. Whereas in a fear-based paradigm, we project fears out. Again, there's a sense of not willing to feel through the full arc of emotion to receive the wisdom of why fear might arise. Instead, projecting it out, creating separation, isolation, and then all that has to be protected when someone is fearful and projecting outward. In a love-based paradigm, we communicate telepathically. We are lit up to the cultivation of all of our clairs, our clairvoyance and clairaudience and clairsentience and claircognition. We are tuned in to our multidimensional facets of receiving communication and energy, right? We're lit up in this way. It's natural. It's how we're designed. In the fear-based paradigm, these communications and telepathies are shut down, and psychic abilities are either used by the CIA and other organizations for the purpose of control, or they're denied completely and kept out of the mainstream. In a love-based paradigm, we are nonlinear. In the fear-based paradigm, we are linear. As Kimia said earlier, this is really looking at whole brain intelligence, using all of our faculties of the brilliance of our operating system and our nervous system. And so in the love-based paradigm, we're integrating right and left brain. We're really calling on the equality and harmony and balance of all of these gifts. Whereas in the fear-based paradigm, the left brain is dominant, leaving us lopsided. In a love-based paradigm, we are pluralistic. It's the both and, it's all included. Te aroha, as we like to say, nothing is left out. And in the fear-based paradigm, there's a dualism, an either or, a right, wrong, a good, bad, and it's a duality that creates separation rather than like the yin yang, a duality that just keeps swimming and dancing into itself and includes the whole. We can also say that a love-based paradigm is an open model. It's open thinking, whereas fear-based is closed system thinking. And if there was one more piece I would have included that we didn't have as a bullet point, it would be that a love-based paradigm is the love that is innate in us. It is the power of love itself. Whereas in a fear-based paradigm, it is actually a love of power that is known or unknown, conscious or unconscious, trying to get us into the love beings that we are. But we can never become love by loving power. We must be love through the power of love itself.
And the heart is more powerful than the brain. And so there's been studies at the Heart Math Institute that have shown the heart is about 100,000 times stronger electrically and up to 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. So as Gabriela was describing earlier, it's really, we are love at the core. We are light at the core. And so it's really parsing out to me what is inhibiting us from remembering that and moving more into a place of the heart and the emotional center in a grounded, loving way, and how that is so much stronger than the electric field of the brain. Gabriela, do you have anything else to say about the heart-brain connection?
I would say, look at this image and see yourself. And imagine that as you're walking through the world, if you are doing your best moment by moment, none of us are perfect. We don't even need to aspire towards that. And if we're doing our best to stay connected to our hearts, to practice heart-brain coherence as a way of living in gratitude, walking through the world as a radiant being who is at source and at center and being the change we want to see in the world, then everywhere we walk, we have this electromagnetic radiant field that goes out in every direction for many, many feet. And then it's not just about what you're doing, but about who you're being, who you're radiating, how you are sharing that radiant frequency, that electromagnetic love field, that this is a reality. It's not just a concept. And so that, as always, if we're talking about embodiment, it has to start in your own deepest heart, in your own journey of unlearning and undoing and rewiring.
So they underestimated us. We didn't come here to Earth at this time to participate or pander to their broken, corrupt, greedy systems of governance and society. We came here to create ripples of such profound love, joy, and unity to usher in a new world of peace and abundance that no system based on illusion can prevent. Hold that vision, for so it is.
Mm-hmm.
So part of this is remembering who we are, remembering at a core who we are and our profound ability to co-create through the heart connection, through joy, through unity, through seeing everybody as our brother, our sister, our curriculum, our teaching, to see every single teaching, no matter how discordant it might feel in that moment, as a teacher of how to open our hearts further and further to the profound power of love, no matter what is arising. And the more we do that internally and externally, the more we are moving into the new paradigm and being stewards of this new paradigm and showing one another through the frequency of how we're showing up and what we're being, as opposed to what we're doing. There's not much of an efforting in this. It's more that connection of the heart, that connection of being anchored in and experiencing peace and abundance and exuding that on a frequency level.
Beautiful, beautiful. And my friends, it's not always easy. But the beauty of it is that we can ground ourselves in a choice and keep choosing again and again and again. And we hope that what we've offered you today helps for you to deepen your own conversation within you and with your people around what is the world I want to live in and how do my perceptions and beliefs color the world I live in.
And so this is a lovely image. And it might be good to feel into your own body and feel into your own heart and feel into your own frequency as you're visualizing this image to see what it arises, what arises for you. How can a visual image really shift your frequency and shift your ability to feel expansive and grounded and harmonious and attuned, or whatever is arising for you?
Well, what I also love about this image for us to receive it as a visual of our ability to circulate energy so that in a healthy nervous system, we are deeply connected to all of the earth frequencies and all of the celestial frequencies. And we are in that 360 toroidal field of energy moving from the earth up and through the crown and from the crown back down into the earth in a beautiful, multidimensional energetic field that is in constant motion. This connects us to the universal laws, the hermetic laws of vibration, of rhythm, of wholeness, of the all, that this simple remembrance of keep your energy circulating is such wisdom as we make these transitions on our planet.
Everything is energy, and that's all that there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. That's not philosophy. This is physics. So again, it's our friend Albert. And so this is really a different way of thinking of things when we're being that frequency and when we're embodying and we're visualizing and we're feeling what it is, the kind of life that we want to live into. Our physical reality actually matches the frequency, matches the imprint of the new, as opposed to mentally trying to do things or efforting things or looking from a linear goal orientation. And especially when we're doing things in communion with the highest good of all. So, in communion with what is a frequency match for the earth? What is a frequency match for our community? What is our frequency match for the children, for this next generation, for the planet, and also for ourselves?
So beautiful. So well said. I love that this quote invites us to embody where two become one, where the mind doesn't know the difference between the felt energy that we rise up as an elevated state of what we are calling in and creating, and that felt sense with that high frequency, elevated energetics, that actually brings and magnetizes that reality to us. And so it's a humble journey to be an alchemist and to be a conscious creator. And I love that Kimia has reminded us, as we need to remind each other all the time, that what we are consciously creating with our energy, that it be truly aligned with what is best for the whole, what will serve at a wholeness level. And that's something that the feminine does very naturally, that mother energy of the feminine. So as we bring the wisdom of the divine feminine and the wisdom of the divine masculine into a sacred marriage, this too, as well, is the two becoming one.
Be a light unto yourself, be your own confidence, and hold that truth within.
What I love about this quote that is attributed to that one that we call the Buddha, maybe there were many Buddhas, maybe we can just experience Buddha as our own Buddha nature, that place in us where we know that all we are to the core is brilliant light. And how can we gratefully retire those who have been intermediaries and be willing to be a light unto ourselves, and to know that we can seek that deepest absolute truth within us and then light up from the inside out. I love the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a beautiful being who's no longer in the body, but he's noted for saying that the next Buddha will be the Sangha. And so that the next enlightened one will not come through a Messiah or a prophet or even a world leader, but that the enlightenment will come through the community itself, through the community of heart and through the community of love.
So, some practical tools for embodiment is to cultivate awareness of energy, attention, intention, and embodiment. So, what we focus on grows. So, our awareness, we're sentient beings, we're conscious beings, we have an ability to be aware of our awareness in this experience. And as we do that, that consciousness continues to expand. So when we're aware of our energy, when we're aware of where our attention is, when we're aware of our greater intention, and we're aware of what we're embodying, that magnifies and that grows. Our embodiment grows.
Another great tool for embodiment, so simple, is to really practice gratitude. Gratitude is a fast track to conscious creation. Gratitude is a fast track to feeling alive and good and grateful. One of my teachers says that gratitude is the attitude of receivership. We also practice kindness and compassion, and that this is as much turned inward as it is extended and shared outward. And of course, we also want to practice the very simple tool of present moment focus and awareness. That the more that we can bring our attention and awareness to the present moment, the more that we are at cause and able to move through the world in a way that we are consciously co-creating rather than being in a looping narrative in our heads, in some kind of feeling or thinking loop, in some kind of futurizing, so that we can really cultivate the present moment and the magic that's there.
Wonderful. So we engage in forgiveness as well as transparent communication. There's a quote I love by Mark Twain, and it says, "Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it."
Mm.
And so years ago, I had a teacher that had told me, "Forgive your perpetrators, for they are your teachers." And I really believe that forgiveness is an internal experience of forgiving whatever externally feels like it's creating separation, and also forgiving ourselves. So when we forgive others, we're ultimately forgiving ourselves, and we are relieving any kind of debt, relieving any kind of imbalance, and we're coming back into a place of neutrality, into a place of balance. And also in the new paradigm, we have transparent communication. So, voicing what's going on internally, voicing what we need, voicing our experience is actually a really vulnerable process. But when we're doing that, we're allowing the other person to validate our experience, and we are communicating from the heart, and we're communicating from our center. So that's again that infinity loop of how are we engaging with others? How are we engaging with all of life?
Beautiful. Again, we invite ourselves into embodiment and connection with the more than human world, the plant nation, animals. All of these are such immediate relationships beyond just practical tools for embodiment. These are relationships. And the natural world, ourselves included in that, and yet specifically for this conversation, the oceans, the rivers, the waters, the trees, the forests, the valleys, the deserts, the mountains, the animal world. These are beings that are constantly modeling to us what it is to have a deeply coherent nervous system that's regulated to higher frequencies of intelligence. They are intelligent teachers that are here for us to learn and be in communion with.
Absolutely. And so also, using rituals, morning rituals are wonderful. I'm living on beautiful indigenous land, and it was so connective and so creative and um, interbalanced that the indigenous and the native people would greet the sun every morning. And so, something wonderful to do is to greet the sun, to greet our environment every morning, to go outside, greet our animal friends. Um, Say goodnight to the sun when the sun is going down, to greet the stars, and then also simple directional attunements. So no matter where we are, we're in a time of a lot of movement, a lot of change, but we can always greet the direction. So we can always orient to um, northeast, southwest, and above and below. So the sky is always going to be below, above us, and the earth is always going to be below us, and we always have that orientation. And so that really orients us to our natural spaces in the land that we're inhabiting, as well as the cycles of the day and the cycles of the seasons.
Mhm. Yes, yes, indeed. I have a favorite saying that is always ringing true in me these days. Roots in the earth, crown of the stars, the future is ours. And every moment that I can remember, whether it's morning or evening as the stars come out, to practice divine alignment, to practice rooting into the earth, drinking into the cosmos, and letting that energy circulate, just like some of those images we showed you of your multidimensional energy body, that these are allies and energetic forces that are constantly available for us to plug in to our more expansive and unlimited nature. There's also a sense of love and relationship and honoring and humility that's developed as we show up to bow at the base of a mountain or at the summit for that matter. There's a sense of how a life changes when we place ourselves in the company of nature's beauty, of the rising and setting sun, of the liminal times of dawn and twilight. There's a magic that is innate in us that is activated when we show up there. And that's why these simple touchstones of these sun greetings, morning rituals, attunements can be so beautiful for reorienting us to what has always been a love-based reality. And I'll bring us into this last one, which I'll say before I get here, that anything we shared is really coming from our own musings and conversations together. It's not meant to be all-inclusive of all of the information that's out there. This is just a morsel of medicine for you to take into your life, and though very rich at that. And so beautiful tools for embodying all that we've shared so far include all that is creative and expressive within us, between us, dancing, singing, making art, all of the ways that we can align with life force and be in a reciprocal love relationship, in a creative communion. Creativity itself is a force of life that when we engage it, we can't help but be lit up. And whether we're moving our bodies in ways that feel inspiring, that are healing, that are delightful, that light us up, or we're using our voices to sing and to call in reality and express that which needs to move, this is a way of living into a direct relationship with the forces of life themselves. Anything you want to add, sister?
Beautiful. I'm just so grateful to be able to share this space. And as Gabriela said, this is really from our own experiences and our own conversations. And so I want you to, I want to invite you to let whatever wants to be absorbed and integrated to come in. And if something doesn't resonate, that's okay. That's okay too. But yes, this was beautiful.
And so we change the story and we change perception. We change perception and we change the world. It's Elder Jean Houston who offered us this quote, and really just take a moment to feel how your perception can change the world for yourself at a personal level, and with the critical mass, and with others who are aligned, we can change our world together.
So lastly, we'll go into nervous system and energy management. And it's really important to know as we're moving from a fear-based paradigm, we're really moving from a place of defense physiology into a place of growth and healing. And in order to do that, we really do need to have grounded, anchored nervous systems. And when we move out of that grounded, anchored nervous system, how do we move back into center? So, the first bit is flooding the master frequency of unconditional love through your nervous system. And that is the most powerful healing force.
I
Also,
love
you,
this.
is
I
there anything,
love
I
this.
know you do want to add something there. So,
I love it. I will add this and we'll share some more as we complete this slide deck, that if I were to say the most important piece that I bring to all of my client sessions, to all of my facilitation, to all of the work I do in the world, the number one is flooding the field with the master frequency of unconditional love. My own nervous system, and as a result, everything I touch, and of course, in every group that I serve, in every client that I work with, this is the most powerful healing force, my friends. Thank me now, and trust me now, and then thank me again later. And I say that playfully because I really want you to put it to the test.
using embodied speech and intention to clear incongruent and incoherent frequencies. And I work with this a lot is, how are our thoughts, how are our hearts, and how is our speech um, congruent with the life that we want to create? And so part of this is releasing anything that's incongruent. Years ago, I released saying would, could, and should. So I had a teacher years ago that said, don't shit on yourself. And so anytime we're speaking something that's incongruent, that's actually creating a ripple effect outwardly. So using embodied speech and using positive intention and focusing on what we do want to create as opposed to what we don't want to create through right speech.
Beautiful. I would add here that embodied speech includes moving beyond the talking head. And especially in our technological age, and even now, as we've been sharing all this information with you, I'm staying in connection to my feet. I'm feeling my pelvis and my seat. I'm allowing my words, my energy, my speech to come from a fully embodied place. And this is where we also can receive more intelligence, because our pelvic intelligence at the root, at the womb, even if you do not have a womb, there is an intelligence that lives there. The heart intelligence has its own speech that it would bring if we were willing to engage that, as well as the mind and mental capacities. So it's really important to integrate all of our intelligences, and this helps us to come into greater coherence. And the next piece that always goes with this is really in maintaining impeccable self-care. This is of our physical body, our energy body, our emotional body, our mental body, our energetic body, all of the inner ecosystem, and being a really conscious steward of our own frequency, which again involves our thoughts, our feelings, our choices, the environments that we're in, the spaces that we cohabitate, the relational wellness, that we get to be stewards of the energy in all of it. And if we make a commitment to be impeccable about this care, then we will have a nervous system that is thriving.
Absolutely. And also in with this impeccable self-care of the body, it's honoring the vessel and honoring our bodies and loving our bodies. This is our greatest ally. This is the ally that's with you from the moment that you're embodied to the moment that you are no longer in this physical body. And so some of it's also simple and basic, but it has to do with the frequency and the consistency. So, what are we eating? What are we drinking? How are you breathing? How are you moving? And mainly, what kind of thoughts are you embodying? And also stewarding, so that's the internal world as well as as Gabriela said, the relational environments or the frequency of the environments that we embody. So that's also consciously um, embodying and creating spaces that we want to be in. So that's the land that we're on, the spirits of the land, as well as shared spaces, so shared environments. And with our energetic environment, it's honoring that different spaces and different environments might want us to move out larger and expand more. And other environments might want us to bring our energy back in, and that's okay. So it's this constant dance of moving inwards and outwards depending on your present moment.
Well said. And so all of this includes the consistency of practice, even if it's small and easeful actions, being aware and clear and just becoming in a consistent, practical awareness of how I can live more fully into a love-based paradigm. There's infinite actions, both big and small. We've covered so many of them. And I'm going to go right into the most basic that Kimia just tapped into a bit, which is breathing deeply and fully. Breath is life. If we can circulate our life force, we can always return to the breath. Even noticing, am I holding my breath? Noticing, is my breath coming all the way down into my feet, into my roots? Noticing, am I exhaling all the way out, right? Sometimes anxious states, fear-based states can be a sense of holding the breath and not exhaling and letting go all the way. The love-based paradigm is a place of surrender, of letting go of the full exhale, and then trusting that we are being held by a great intelligence that is love and has our backs. And so breath, including breath practices that revitalize, that bring heat, that soothe the vagus nerve and the nervous system. There's infinite breath practices available out there. We just want to remind you that you can start where you are and keep it simple.
And lastly, different practices include tapping, havening, loving touch, stroking on the face, somatic, nurturing self-attunement, grounding and co-regulating to the natural world. So it's really bringing it back into the vessel and back into the body. And how do we attune to the frequency of care and connection and integration and groundedness and embodiment? A really easy way to do that is just to put our hands on the earth or put our belly on the earth or to touch our faces. There's so many different practices, as Gabriela has mentioned, but it's really that generous care and that nurturance and that love that we're giving to our own vessels and our own bodies as expressions of spirit.
So beautifully stated. And while we are wired for connection and we're wired for affection and relationship, for some of us, this may not be available. This may not feel safe. And so the invitation is to start, as Kimia just said, start with letting yourself be held and embraced by the earth, finding a tree to lean your spine up against, putting your belly just like a snake or a lizard on the earth is one of the most powerful practices for anxiety and for depression. Gently holding ourselves, massaging our arms, stroking our faces, our hands. These are all ways that babies imprint with human touch, and our bodies receive this level of care and love and touch through our own healing, nurturing, loving hands, right? These right here are the hands of the divine loving you. And so let them do just that. And know that your way of showing up with kindness and love for your own being can be the divine touching you, can be the touch of just the right way that a lover would touch you, the embrace of just the right way a mother that's healthy and attuned could hold you. And this is an invitation to become responsible for giving ourselves the love and the care that we most need and not depending on someone outside of us, and knowing that there also is infinite, more than human life beyond our physical form that is available to love on us and hold us and co-regulate to us all the time, but we must choose it.
There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle.
Yes. And so again, let's thank Albert Einstein and his lovely presence, and also superimpose the image there of a beautiful divine feminine being, of a beautiful tree, of the ocean, of a starry night, so that there's this way of really letting ourselves feel that it is a choice. Is a choice. Are you going to live as if life is a miracle? Are you going to live as if everything is a miracle? Because if you do, that will be your experience, my friends.
Absolutely. And so right now is a time that, planetarily, the third eye is opening, consciousness is expanding, awareness is expanding, and we all have the ability to be self-aware, expand our consciousness, be that healing light and that presence of love that we want to see. And it truly is a choice that we come back to day and day again. So we'd also like to share a little bit of information for you all about our own personal practices, our own personal work. Love donations make this work that Gabriela and I have been doing for years and years and years. And we're happy to receive that. And so if you feel inspired to do so, you can send a love donation, no matter how big or small, to Gabriela dash Masala on Venmo. And Gabriela and I can both give you a little bit of information about work that we do if you feel inspired or curious to potentially do more one-on-one or group work with us.
Thank you so much, Kimia. We've just been on a wild ride together, my friends. Thank you for your time. If you're still here in this moment in the recording, thank you for your presence, your attention, your consideration. It's my intention that this collection of information and images touched you in a place where you can take a leap into seeing how available it is to live in a love-based paradigm, and that we can choose it now, and we can choose it over and over and over again. And we don't need to wait for the right political leader to be in office, or for the right circumstances, or for more time, money, fill in the blank of what you think you need before you can have a life that you love, that's loving you. And so with that, we invite you to go back to the slides, take notes if you like, share this with others in your life who you feel might resonate and be benefited by it. And please write down our websites and check out our offerings. We'd love to hear from you. How did this touch you? Like and subscribe if there's even a way that you can do that. We're not sure yet. And of course, we welcome your love donations. That's what keeps this work sustainable. Both Kimia and I have a number of offerings and client work that we do, both virtually as well as in-person events. Many of our clients, we offer our time and service free of charge, and so that's why love donations go such a long way. Please feel free to come and visit GabrielaMasala.com and contact me for any number of private sessions, group sessions, one-on-one retreats, as well as a number of online offerings that can be right in the comfort of your own living room. How about you, Kimia?
Thank you, Gabriela. Yes, you're welcome to find me online at project-alchemy.com. And I mainly do teaching, facilitation, mentorship. I've been in the healing arts for many, many years, as well as family facilitation. So I work in person in the healing arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then I also do remote and Zoom sessions, as well as group work and retreats. And we would love to stay connected. You're welcome to log in and sign up on both of our websites. And then we also send information about new offerings. And thank you so much for your time. And may we all be that peace and that joy and that love that we want to see in the world, and continue to embody it at these massively transformational times.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. May you thrive, thrive, thrive.